breeze through some really simple definitions. I think that you all know them and you're probably pretty familiar. However, I just want to clarify a few things on what we think is super important on the differences. So we're going to define weddings. I think you all know what engagement is. So when a couple gets engaged, they're ready to plan their wedding, right? They're ready to take that next step. And I think that in society these days, we often jump so quickly to then the wedding part. And it's something to be aware of, that engagement is a phase of life too. And help your couples celebrate that and not necessarily always focus on what's next. The next definition is vendor or creative partner. So we like to use the word term creative partner versus vendor. I feel like vendor just sounds like hired help, and creative partner sounds like someone you're collaborating with. So we like that term. Use whichever you'd like. Most people use vendor. It's common. I think most couples know creative vendor. If you say creative partner, they're like, who's that? And then venue. Venue is the location of the wedding ceremony and reception, and they may be at the same or different venues. And the difference between ceremony and reception, the part of the wedding where most often the bride walks down the aisle. The couples exchange vows, rings, and there is a pronouncement of marriage. Reception, the portion of the wedding following the ceremony the same day or sometimes days after, usually immediately following, or formalities like first dance, dinner, cake cutting, and celebration. So here's where we get into defining the different roles that you may take. And the first one is a wedding consultant. A wedding consultant is a wedding expert and advisor to clients. This person should know everything and anything about wedding planning. If there is an answer they do not know, it is their responsibility to research and educate themselves until they have the right answer for the client. Now, we at LVL define ourselves as principal planners instead of a wedding consultant, but truly what we are consultants. We are there to be the expert, to be the one every step of the way. And as you develop your business and decide where your strengths are and what you want to be, you can make up your own term like we did, or you can kind of classify yourselves in one of these things. I believe a wedding planner is someone who creates a custom wedding vision, selects the wedding venue, and helps build a team based on the client's budget, style, and personality. A wedding planner is hired at the beginning of the process and is the wedding planner's role to keep the planning a reflection of the couple while remaining in budget. A planner recommends vendors to the clients who they feel will be the best fit to ensure a flawless day. So I think the biggest thing, and I will definitely hammer it home today, is the difference between a wedding planner and a wedding coordinator. And the terms are often used interchangeably, and I don't think that they should be. To me, a wedding coordinator takes the plans of the client and brings all the details and logistics together and creates that detailed final plan, which is written and verbally communicated and confirmed with the wedding vendor team. A wedding coordinator is hired after the majority of the vendors have already been selected. The coordinator's role is to pull all of those pieces together and make sure the details flow flawlessly and seamlessly. Now, the biggest difference there are making the plans or helping make them happen. Now, every planner is also a coordinator, right? The difference is you're coordinating your own plans. And a coordinator truly is taking the bride's plans and making them happen. As you start your business or as you grow, or you may find certain times where you are supposed to be a coordinator, but you're planning someone's wedding. And so through sometimes trial and error, you'll start to develop your services or your packages or your lines in the sand where you start to realize boundaries, because there should be, in our minds, a really clear-cut difference between being a planner and being a coordinator. So just in a little more detail, coordination packages are for clients looking for very hands-on approach to planning the wedding themselves, but want experienced professionals to handle the logistics and details on the actual event day so the client can relax and enjoy themselves. We believe that coordination or a good coordinator, should get involved at least 2 months prior. Now, there are absolutely times where you get a call last minute and it's maybe 10 days before or a month before. And I'm not saying don't take that. I don't think that's a bad thing. But in an ideal world, a coordinator should become involved in the final details at least 2 months before. Why do you think that's the case? What happens in those last 60 days? Final answers, right? So if you don't get involved until all the final answers are made, there's no room to fix anything. So I prefer to get involved 60 days prior, so you really have 30 days to give those final answers. So if you get involved in the 10 days before or the 30 days before, if the couple's already told their vendors and their venue everything that they think is the final answer, and it's not going to serve you well to run their plans, then you have to redo it all, right? So getting involved sooner not only helps you have less stress, helps them have less stress, but really allows you to do the job well. The biggest role of a coordinator is to gather all the details and plans they have made, and then go over any details they may have missed. Most couples have no idea what they're doing when they're planning their wedding. They're reading online, looking through magazines, they're using the Knot or Wedding Wire or Aisle Planner, but they still don't have the expert knowledge. They don't know how long it takes to do a grand entrance. They don't know that you maybe don't need a time frame to the minute, line by line on your timeline. They don't know how long it takes to do a hair and makeup service. So that's really where a coordinator comes in and looks over the plan, builds the timeline together, and makes sure that it makes sense. You're really there to evaluate their plans, and sometimes you need those 60 days to replan their wedding because they weren't doing a great job. And this is why you can't go too low on your services for coordination. The day of the event, the coordinator leads the team to ensure everything is organized and runs smoothly from start to finish. And I chose those words wisely. I think that you are the team leader. You are the captain. You are the biggest cheerleader. You are not to run around with a clipboard yelling at people. That's not going to serve anyone well. But really guiding and leading the team to make sure that everyone does what they do best on the day for the client. I always joke when I walk around, and someone will ask me a very specific question, and if I know the couple doesn't really truly care or trust the vendor or the creative partner wholeheartedly, I'll just say, you do you. I'm here if you need anything, but you do you. And that's the best thing you can do with a vendor or creative partner, is give them the empowerment to do their job well. We often hear that there are wedding planners that run around with either giving no information, not enough information, or trying to control everything. And the moment you realize that as long as you do your job the best possible, even coordination weddings should go really smoothly, even if you didn't build that team. But as long as you communicated with them, you gave them the tools that they need to do their job well, it should run really well. Now, with coordination, the only risk you run is that you didn't build that team, so they may not be good. So that is another conversation, and we can talk about what to do when you are with a vendor that isn't doing the job well, and where you maybe should or shouldn't step in. And then planning. Planning is the big guy, right? Planning involves assistance and guidance throughout the process from start to finish. The planner is looking at the bigger picture and is more of an event producer. The planner becomes involved toward the beginning and will be the primary liaison between the client and the vendor team. So for my coordination clients, those ones have talked to all of their vendors, right? They've talked to their DJ, their photographer, they've selected them. I'm not the one talking for them in the case, but typically for a planning package, my clients aren't really talking to their vendors. I'm doing that for them. That's one of the reasons they hired me, to save them the time so they don't have to go back and forth, and you're really spoon feeding the communication to your client and to the team. What a planner really needs to do is make sure that they're providing the client with a custom vendor list. And that means it's not just, hey, we like these people, here's the list of 10 people. It is, hey, tell me what you like about photography. Show me a couple photos that you love. Do you like film? Do you like digital? What is it about a wedding video that really inspires you? And then it's your job to look through your preferred vendors and really match them. So with a planning package, the client's gonna get a lot more of a custom approach to building that team versus coordination where they're either doing it themselves or you're just kind of giving them a cookie cutter list. And the planner will not only serve as the event coordinator, but also assist in ensuring you stay on budget while attaining the look and feel desired. So I think the biggest difference between coordination and planning to couples is either help or not with the budget. So for a planning package, you're really helping guide them on how they're spending their money, where they're spending it, what things should cost. And for coordination, they're on their own. They're going to make those choices themselves, and then you're really just going to make those choices happen. So let's talk a little bit about what skills make a great wedding planner. Now, we're going to go through a pretty extensive list, and if there are things on here you don't feel like you possess yet, I encourage you to work on those. So I think one of the biggest things that I see newer planners struggle with is anticipating needs. And I always tell the training process within LVL is a little intense. For anyone who assists me, I consistently will turn to them and say, what's next? Because I'm 2 steps ahead. I think a really good wedding planner is 2 steps ahead of the day. You're not reacting, you're anticipating. And so I think one of the hardest things to learn when you're still learning, you have all of those things going through your head, you're dealing with questions, you have your own kind of internal dialogue going, and maybe the day isn't quite flowing as the timeline, but you really still have to learn to anticipate everyone's needs. What are the vendor questions going to be? When you get a bridal party lined up, what are the questions they're going to ask you every time? It's probably going to be, what are we doing? What order is it? Where am I sitting? Now, if you come prepared every step of the way, anticipating needs, the day is going to run really smoothly. You're not having to run around and react to people. And also, you're going to come across like a badass because you've already made people's problems go away before they even had them. So learning to anticipate needs is probably the best thing that you can learn, and probably one of the hardest when you get started. I think number 2 is a big deal for me. I don't understand when people don't have a sense of urgency. I'm not very nice about it when they don't. That's something that I would encourage you to do. Having a sense of urgency at the right time is really crucial. Understanding when it is time to run across the room. Now, never looking panicked, still remaining calm, but there are times throughout the day where time really matters, right? A wedding day goes by so quickly. Every minute is precious. And if you don't have a sense of urgency in the times that those really matter, the entire day can kind of unravel. And not to be dramatic, but it's true. So being aware of when to have that sense of urgency and to teach anyone helping you to have that. I think a lot of assistants lack a sense of urgency. They're coming in, they are setting tables, they're putting things out, and they're not necessarily worried about the bigger picture like you are. So really empowering them, giving them the information that they need so that they understand, hey, we need those place cards set out, but you really only have 20 minutes to do it, like hustle. And to be a really good listener. And this is something that I think is so incredibly valuable. Throughout the process, from sales all the way through the end, being a really good listener to everyone involved. Your couples, most importantly, absolutely your vendor team and anyone else on board, but really make sure that you're not so busy being 2 steps ahead or being in charge that you're still being a really good listener. And a problem solver. So I was at a wedding once, and we were zipping up a bridesmaid in her dress, and it completely split, completely down the side. And I, of course, have a needle and thread and was ready to sew her back in her dress, but it wasn't going to happen. It was still too small. So luckily, the 3 bridesmaids had different black dresses on. And we were really close to where I lived, and she was around my size. And I said, I'm going to go to my closet. I'm a wedding planner. I have a lot of black dresses. I've got you covered. I drove home. I grabbed every black dress out of my closet, and I brought it to her. Now, was she planning on wearing one of my dresses to her sister's wedding? Absolutely not. But you have to be able to react on your toes. What can you do to solve this problem? This girl was probably maybe 16 or 17. Her older sister was getting married. It would have been a horrible day for both of them if she wasn't comfortable, if she didn't feel pretty, if she didn't get to walk down the aisle and support her sister. Now, could I probably have run to Target and gotten her a dress too? Totally. Just didn't even cross my mind. Shirt off my back is kind of more of my mentality, but I just want you to really understand that giving to that capacity is a really important thing to do, but understanding that you can think outside of the box to solve any problems or mishaps that might come up. And with that, being a critical thinker. So I've definitely been at weddings where things don't show up that I ordered. Logistics things, just this past weekend actually. So don't ever feel like you weren't meant to do this because you make mistakes. I've been doing this 11 years. I've done almost 800 weddings, and I still make mistakes. This past weekend, I had a really big wedding, and I forgot. So the week of, the couple decided to cut back $5,000 of their rental order. Super fun for me, right? Great. So during that time, we removed a charger plate. Since we removed a charger plate, the glassware didn't make sense, so I had to change the style of glassware. Well, I mentioned that to the rental company, but I didn't notice that they only put a wine and a water back on, not wine, water, and champagne. So ultimately, that's my fault for not catching that. We get to the wedding day, there's a lot of logistics, a lot of questions coming my way, and the catering goes, "There's no champagne flutes, just so you know." Like, awesome. There's a champagne tower. It's all about like celebrating. That's exactly what the bride and groom are going to say when they come in. They're going to pop bottles of champagne, and I have nothing to put champagne in. Super great. So I just took a second and thought, what can I do? How can I pull this off so it doesn't look like a mistake? Or can I fix it? So first things first, I got on the phone with the rental company and said, "Hi, yep, I forgot something. Any chance we can fix it?" Wasn't an option. Called a secondary rental company. Wasn't an option. All right, time to change the plan. So luckily we had champagne coupes for the tower, and what we did was we just had the bride and groom do their entrance, they popped their champagne, they poured it over top, and we only served it to the head table. Luckily, I had that differentiation, so I could kind of separate the guests from the head table, and it wasn't a big deal. Lindsay was a guest. She didn't know otherwise. So really thinking critically to how something will be perceived and realize that plan A isn't always going to happen. And for something like that, I didn't have a plan B. I assumed that my flutes that I thought I ordered would be there, right? So just give yourself the minute, whether you need to take yourself out of the situation and just step to the side for a second, or I have a tendency to take Carissa like face to face and be like, okay, what are we gonna do? And most of the time I don't even need her to say anything. I just need her to know, I just need to know she's right there gonna help me. And you just have to think out of the box. And for that, did I have to give up something I wanted to give them? 100%. Was I bummed out with myself that I forgot something? Absolutely. I'm using it as an example because it still bothers me. But understanding that you can change the plan. So as important as the plans are, you have to be able to think critically if you are forced to change the plan, and you can't give up on yourself or the plan because tweaking it might be the right answer. And you also need to be a leader. And I think that is one of the things that people are either a little stronger in walking in a room and commanding a presence and being a leader, and other people have to work at that. So if you need to work at that, I really encourage you to practice, to get hands-on experience. We'll talk a little bit more today about rehearsals. I think that can be really scary for someone who's not a natural leader. And so we'll talk about tips and tricks, but I think the biggest thing is confidence. And if you're confident, that people will perceive you as a leader, even if that's not a natural role for you. Excellent communicator. So Lindsay and I both actually went to school for communications, not business. In hindsight, both would have been great. But it's really, really important to communicate well and to understand how people might need different versions of communication from you. Every couple that I work with needs me to be just a little bit different. They either need me to be a little bossier or a little more tactful. They need me to present things in maybe a different manner. So not only making sure that you are being a good communicator, but identifying the type of communication they need you to be or have. Multitasker. If you look at everything above this list, you're already running in a million directions and you're doing so many different things. And you need to become really confident and comfortable in that. Because in 2 seconds, you're being asked different questions that may lead you in different directions. At the same time that a band is loading in, maybe the bride's about to get dressed and the officiant can't find the marriage license and the hair and makeup people want their tip. All at once. No problem. Handled. You've got that. So being really confident and comfortable and being a multitasker and prioritizing those tasks at the time with a smile on your face. And then most people don't consider that wedding planners are also salespeople, not only for your own personal business and your services, but you're consistently selling other people. Each vendor that you present or venue, you're really selling for them. Most of all, you have to be a team player. I would tell you that consistently, especially getting started, there are times where vendors and creative partners will let you down or fall short. And you need to help them. You need to carry buckets of flowers off the dance floor if the florist hasn't gotten their act together and cleaned up. You need to not be afraid to get down on your hands and knees and wipe something up. You have to make sure that that your ego is checked at the door every single event that you do. And being a team player will always shine through. And those vendors that you maybe helped or saved or didn't throw under the bus will be your partners for life. Calm and composed. I think that is the biggest compliment that I ever receive is, I didn't know anything was going wrong. You were so calm and composed. And things can be horribly wrong under the surface. Or you can be stressed or you can be annoyed, but it is so crucial to be calm and composed and have a smile on your face no matter what. Now, I've been in circumstances where I can stay pretty calm through almost anything. If someone's mean to me, it's like the one time that I can crumble. And so I was working a wedding where there was a father who just wasn't liking that there was a female kind of telling him what to do all day. And I stayed calm and composed. I got through everything. We got to open dancing towards the end of the reception. And I came into the kitchen of the catering company I was working, and I just sat on the floor and cried. I had lost it. But no one out there saw. And I hope no one pushes you to that point, but just know that I never let him win because he never saw that. The couple were super sweet. They had a great wedding. And never at one point was I going to let anyone see that I was not okay under the surface, beneath the surface. I think that it's super important to just remain calm and not take things personal. At the end of the day, this guy was just super amped, I think, for his daughter to have a perfect day. And I think that he maybe had trust issues with women and he thought that I couldn't make that happen. At the end of the night, he gave me a hug. The man that just made me cry gave me a hug. But because he knew that I had stayed calm and composed and handled it. So there'll be times where you get knocked off your feet and you may not want to be calm and you may not want to stay composed, but I assure you it will always serve you well to figure out how to. And then the flip side of that is to have thick skin. That story I tell you was probably 8 years ago. I don't think I've ever cried at a wedding since because I know that I'm good at my job. My heart's in the right place, and I'm going to do my best possible that I can every time. Am I going to make mistakes? Sure. Am I sometimes going to get my feelings hurt? Probably. But at the end of the day, I'm going to have thick skin because it's not about me. It's about the two people getting married and make sure that they have a great day. And then let's talk a bit about wedding planner roles. You're the point person. You're the listener. You're the director of people. You're the liaison. You're the advocate for your clients and vendors. You're the expert. And does that mean you know everything? No, but it means you're going to figure it out if you don't. I often will get questions in a meeting and they're like, hey, do you know da-da-da? Sure don't, but let me find out for you. Or, I don't know about it in the context you are asking. Let me find out more. Just yesterday, one of our planners emailed our whole team. There was a certain dance that one of her brides wanted to do. Google it. We have access to everything. Watch YouTube videos. Make sure you are an expert in anything you need to be. An event designer, a decision maker, a delegator. Now, for those of you that are super type A and want to be in control, this is going to be hard for you. So maybe circle this one, star it. Understand that you need a team. And this is super hard for me. I used to be a horrible delegator. But the more you can become a good manager the day of, and a team player, and a team leader, instead of trying to do it all yourself, you're going to be more successful. So learn to delegate, learn to ask for help. You're going to be the advisor, not just for your clients, for the full team the day of. So come equipped, make sure you're confident in your answers, and be prepared to help people every step of the way. You're going to be the central hub of communication. So be confident and be aware that you are going to be asked so many questions. I always joke that what a wedding planner really is just giving people emotional support and answering 20,000 questions. I feel like that's mostly what I do for a living. And so understanding that that emotion may weigh on you a little, and it also needs to be your role. So becoming really comfortable with the idea that your job every day is to answer 30 questions. It is to be kind of bombarded at times throughout the day. And then, again, the salesperson. And I think that a lot of people coming in don't realize how crucial that part is.